Good morning, good morning. Welcome to the Working Trader. Today's a Friday. Hope you had a wonderful week. Here we look at the Euro USD daily analysis, coming up with trade ideas for the day. So we had a midweek federal funds rate, which the interest rates were reduced from 4% to 3.75, and as expected, that would set the tone for the rest of the week. So since then, price has been bullish. So really, there's not much change that we expect today on a Friday. Today, there's no high impact news related to the US. Okay. So looking at the chart, we can do a recap of what transpired yesterday and what we were expecting. So if you recall, we had a supply area here, which had been mitigated multiple times, which I was saying that we were expecting a deeper mitigation and eventually for it to fail. And yesterday, that's when it failed. So we are clearly bullish at the moment. So now what this means is we could say that the higher low is definitely in place. Okay. Yes, we didn't mitigate the extreme demand as we would have liked, but we have created a higher low, and now the intent now has switched to bullish after this break of structure. Okay, so which means there's high likelihood. There's high likelihood that price will continue bullish until we take out this extreme week daily high. Okay, until we take out that week daily high. So on the 4 hour, the 4 hour had already been giving us clues, because we're having these breaks of structure to the upside. So 4 hour was already bullish, so bias was to remain bullish. Of course, we were expecting maybe a deeper pullback to mitigate before price takes off. However, it didn't give us a chance to get in from this POI. And then when we look at the 1 hour, 1 hour is also bullish, and this is the current POI that remains. This is the decisional where price eventually went and made a break of structure. Okay, went and broke structure. So we can expect price to come and at least mitigate that area. It may be highly unlikely that it will push all the way down to this area here. So in terms of today's analysis, what that means is today's a Friday. There's not much news going on. Here's a unmitigated daily supply. So we could call it our extreme, because that's the only supply that is left that is not been mitigated. So we can expect price to at least push into this area before maybe get a reaction. So the bias is definitely bullish. Okay, bias is definitely bullish. And then on the 4 hour, we've had our breaks of structure. This is, we have a fractal structure break right over there. So that gives us our 4-hour POI. Okay, our 4-hour POI, which is the decision out that led to the break of structure. And then, as we can see, within that POI, that's where we have our 1-hour demand that is nested. So expectation would be price to come, at least to mitigate this area, and then react, and then we continue bullish. Okay, and then we continue bullish. That is expectation. If this fails, then obviously we may then be waiting for a deeper pullback. Okay, we may be waiting for a deeper pullback. But other than that, these are the only two possibilities that we have so far. So I think today's analysis is pretty clear. There's not much I need to say. So those are the two POIs that we'll be looking at. All right. So other than that, please hit the like, subscribe, leave a comment if you're finding this material valuable. And we'll see you next week on Monday. So working trader out, and have a good day.